Chat works here. And we are live. Woohoo! Hey, everybody. Abby Ashley here, and I am super excited because today we are going to be talking with three lovely ladies all about niching down by industry. So I get a lot of questions about niching down. And in my opinion, there's two main ways to niche down your services, and that's either by industry or by service. Or I guess there's three ways because you could do a combination of both. Oh, and now I'm listening to this on my phone. So, so I'm really excited because, you know, I personally, I started, I built more of an agency model where I didn't really niche down. It was just kind of like, okay, you know, I'll accept any type of client. And then I grew and grew and grew a team who kind of each had their own specialties. And then I kind of took a little bit of a hiatus from my business and I came back mainly doing content. So again, I niched down mainly by service. But I never really niched down by industry. And so, but I know that it's a way that you can niche down and that you can find some really great clients in an industry that you already have an interest in. So I'm really excited, and I think I'm going to definitely be learning something today about niching down by industry. So thank you guys each for being here. This is a couple of quick notes. So we are doing this via YouTube Live. So if you are watching live, there is there is a chat, and I should be able to man the chat while we are doing this as well. So you can ask any questions that you have inside of the chat for the YouTube Live. And in addition, I apologize for my camera because it's really blurry, and my regular camera isn't working right now. So all sorts of fun tech glitches. So, and there will be a replay of this as well. So we'll just go ahead and we'll jump in. I'm super excited for these three ladies. They have been growing their businesses, and I'm excited to hear a little bit more of their backstory. So we'll just go one at a time. I would love to know, you know, what your business is, what kind of clientele you serve, and you can tell us a little bit if you want to about how you got started in your business. So Bree, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I'm so excited to be here. Like I said to you before we got started, I've been watching your lives and following your blog for a long time. And so it's really cool that just applying what I learned from watching a couple of your live sessions and reading your blog, I was able to actually leave my part-time job, which was really great. So thanks for that. My background is in art, and I studied fashion at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and kind of had like a very varied background, studied health coaching and nutrition as well. And so I started my personal styling business about 3 years ago, and I've been building it slowly but surely. And in the meantime, I joined a mastermind group, and a lot of the people in the mastermind group ended up being physicians, which is really funny. And so this topic about niching down is interesting to me because I was just around a lot of people who were in the medical profession. So I have 3 clients that have replaced my part-time income from my part-time job. And they're all physicians, they're all doctors, and they range from psychology to obstetrician, so a gynecologist dealing with high-risk pregnancy, and then I also work with dental groups, so people who serve cosmetic dentistry to just helping patients care for their teeth naturally. I mean, it's a wide range of different topics that I'm writing about, but it's interesting that they all kind of ironically ended up being physicians.
Yeah. Now, are they all, and we'll dive into a little bit of each of your own businesses, but are they all, do they all own their own practice?
That's a great question. No, one of them does, only one owns her own practice, and she's co-owner of a practice. And the other 2, one is an author, the psychologist is an author. He has guest appearances on Focus on the Family and stuff like that. And then the other dental group is actually I'm in a sense subcontracting for them. So I'm like writing content for 10 or a dozen different dentists. So it's
Awesome.
kind of cool, but yeah,
Very
way different than what I thought I'd be doing. So
cool.
different from personal styling, but I love it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm excited to dig in a little bit more into that. Let's jump over to Annie. Let's hear a little bit about your business and you and your business and kind of how you got into the industry that you did.
Yeah, so I've been in business coming up on 2 years in August, full time for about a year and a half. And my very first client was in the wedding industry. Not when I started this business, I didn't necessarily have an industry in mind. I reached out to a local girl who was a photographer and had posted something on Facebook about needing help 5 hours a week. And I was like, oh, I could totally do that after work, like after my full-time job. So I did. 3 months later, I went to, this was like before I even thought like, oh, maybe this could be a business. It was just like, I want to make a new friend and have a hobby. And 3 months later, I went to a bridal show with her and she introduced me to all of her vendor friends. And all of a sudden I had 6 new clients. So I left my full-time job then 3 months later. And even then I didn't really fully embrace the niche that I was in. Like it had just sort of happened. But if other people, like a local realtor had reached out to me, a contractor, like a home painter reached out to me, and I said yes, only later to realize that the people that I enjoy working with the most were in the wedding industry, and the people who I felt like I could serve best were in the wedding industry because they have brands that I can relate to. Like I got married, I went through the process, and so it was a natural transition. But it now has grown to a place where I'm transitioning from VA to OBM work and like more high level work. And I only accept clients in that industry and even like certain types of clients in that industry. So people who are service providers in the wedding industry, not product providers in the wedding industry.
Awesome. I'm excited to dig into that a little more because I think that you did what a lot of people do, and what I actually advise people to do is kind of just to, like, okay, I'll take a little bit of everyone, and then you really quickly realize, okay, no, I don't want to do that. But sometimes you don't know that that maybe I shouldn't take services from everybody. Maybe I shouldn't, offer this to everyone until you've done it. And then you're like, nope, this is my niche. So I like that you went down that path. Okay, Jamie, tell us a little bit about you and the industry that you're in.
First, thank you for inviting me. Excuse me. So excited to be here. I have been in the VA OBM business support industry full time for about 6 years. Started 7 years ago. On a platform, a freelancing platform that no longer exists, or at least it's been renamed.
Yep.
I started with just doing anything and everything that would pay me. I didn't have any, no niche. I didn't no specialties. If it was in my like wheelhouse, if I thought I could do it and do it well, and they were going to pay, then I took the client. I didn't niche down intentionally. I found a really amazing client on that website. We worked really well together. I had an opening and I said, hey, I've got some hours, anybody who needs a VA? And he made some introductions and it just ballooned from there because at least in my niche, thought leaders, they kind of all know each other. So once you get in good with one or two of them, you've got this amazing network of really successful professionals and entrepreneurs. At this point, I would take work from other industries if it was a really good fit. But I find that for my skill set and the services that I offer, thought leaders, professional speakers, that's probably the best fit. I do some work with other entrepreneurs, but even those entrepreneurs are looking to get into the speaking and thought leader industry. So.
Awesome. It's really interesting. It sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like all three of you basically had like a client, like that really good client that kind of just catapulted you and your business. And I think that that's I think that's really important for everyone to hear. You know, something similar happened when I got one really good client, and I did a really, really good job for them. And at that point, you know, the recommendations start coming because people they have networks. And so if you work, that's why I emphasize a lot when we're doing proposals. If you find someone that you think, man, this could be my dream client, spend time on that proposal. Like spend 2 or 3 days on it if you need to, doing something that's just extraordinary so you really stand out from the pack, because one good client can literally change your entire business. I know I was chatting with, I'm not sure if you guys know her, but Angela Olanda. She is a VA boot camper, and she's kind of had like a lot of ups and downs in her business, like kind of had a few clients, struggled a little bit, like went up and down. And she found a dream client. Someone was looking for a VA, and she's like, I'm going to get this. So she worked days on her proposal. She sent me like a couple of drafts of the proposal that and we're like, okay, you're going to get this one. You're going to get this one. And she ended up getting it. And it has like entirely changed her business. I mean, she's like living what you guys have all went through a few, however many, months or years ago. So I can't emphasize that enough. Like kind of, even if you don't know an industry that you want to, kind of nail down, if you can think of just one or two, maybe choose 5, like dream clients, like, man, it would be amazing if I could work for this person. Go after that. Send me your proposals and say, hey, is this, like, is this a good proposal idea? Because it really can change your business. I just had to throw that out there. So each of you guys, correct me if I'm wrong. Did any of you go out with the intention, okay, I'm going to go in this niche, or do you just found some clients and you happen to enjoy that, and so you decided I'm going to stick with that, right?
Yeah, I had zero intention of niching into medical professionals and physicians or doctors. Like I said, I was in a mastermind group, and because I've been blogging for so long on my own, one of the women in my group just noticed me speeding through all these assignments, and she was like, gosh, I really need help. I'm so busy. Because she's a full-time doctor. Like, she's on call all the time. And it was just a no-brainer for her. So that's when I was like, wow, it's amazing to work with her. And, then a few other people in the group kind of over time, over probably a period of 6 or 7 months, step forward. So I was just faithfully working and serving one client before quitting my part-time job and personal styling all at the same time.
Yeah. So let me ask this question too before we jump into some of the other things. Can you guys each tell me what, since we have, so we have the medical niche, the kind of wedding niche, and then influencer speaker niche. What are the main services that you guys end up offering to those niches? And I know, Annie, you're going more into OBM work, but even leading up to this point, can you guys share with me what are the main services that you have pinpointed that this industry really needs? We can go with Jamie first.
Yeah, sure. So each of my clients is a little different. So for some of them, I'm probably just a VA, but for many, I'm more of an OBM or even a personal assistant. I find that my clients need a lot of calendar coordination. Think like medical practice where there's a million people calling and they all want to see the doctor at the same time. So I live in someone's calendar app. I also do a lot of travel. So again, logistics, planning. So a lot of booking travel. I do quite a bit of, I can't say contract negotiations, but back and forth because my clients are speakers and they deal with speaker bureaus. So I may not negotiate the terms, but I do make sure contracts are signed, deposits are invoiced, things of that nature. And then a lot of just back and forth client communications and research, when they're creating new content for a new keynote or they're creating new content for their e-courses, online courses. They usually come to me, here's a theme, here's a topic. I'll do the initial research, and then from there, it balloons. So lots of logistics, whether it's calendar or travel, lots of research, and then just emailing communications with their clients and with, I guess, the speaking bureaus are clients too. So a lot of back and forth. I basically become the face of the client. So if you think of a celebrity who has an assistant and, you reach out to the assistant to get to them, I'm that gatekeeper. I'm that person. I own their calendars. I own their time.
Yeah, that is a little bit like it's like VA/OBM. I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Is that kind of that's kind of what you're transitioning into too, Annie, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's funny. Around the time that Jenna Kutcher published a podcast episode on how she outsourced, I think inside of the wedding industry, there was like this ball that was slowly rolling and she just like pushed it down a hill. So I started doing literally anything that was within my wheelhouse. But I found that along the way so I would do like customer service related things. I would do social media related things. My background is in marketing and I have an MBA in business. So anything business related was really in my wheelhouse, but I found that a lot of these people who are looking to make their first hire or maybe their second hire because the first hire didn't work out or something like that, they don't have the systems or processes in place to make it a successful relationship. So through a year of being a VA and being on the receiving end of that not being a successful relationship, I've kind of identified that a place where there is a need is in helping to prepare these businesses to hire. So that's what I'm transitioning to as an OBM. But truly at first it was like anything that you will pay me to do, I will do.
Yeah.
And I found that even like I started then niching down, like I don't offer email support anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it was mostly like marketing or like higher level, like launch planning or things like that. But I would love to say I had a grand plan in mind, but I didn't. It just evolved as as I found people who were interested in bringing somebody onto their team. If they were a good fit personality wise and I could make it work, like I could make it happen for them, then I said yes.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect. Honestly, I think it's actually what I recommend for people because, you hear like the little catchphrase, the riches are in the niches. And I do think that is true for service providers. I think that once you are able to niche down by industry and then like you're doing even further by service, like the more you can niche down, the more you can raise your prices. However, I think that it's different than so I'll take course creation, for instance. So if you're going to create a course on something, it's really good to get really, really, really specific. And then maybe you can branch out. When I first started the Virtual Savvy, it was like stay-at-home moms. That was my language. That was my targeting. And now it's evolved more. And then it was kind of like women in general. And then it was kind of like, okay, really anyone who wants to be a VA, but my stuff is still pretty feminine, it kind of broadened out so I could serve a wider audience as it grew. But I think it's kind of the opposite is true with a service-based industry, whereas that's kind of how things evolved with like my course creation business. With a service industry, I think it is good to start more broad, that you can, you're like, okay, I'll do a little bit of anything for anyone. Because to be honest, it's easier to find clients that way if you don't have referrals coming in all the time. If you're not, so to have that kind of broader sphere of like, yep, I'll take, this wedding professional and this real estate agent and this, do a little bit of everything. And then as the referrals start growing, as you start realizing what you like and don't like to do, there's a higher demand for your services. Then you can niche, maybe by industry, maybe by service and industry. And with each time you niche, you can raise your prices as well. So is that something that you guys have experienced as far as, being able to have your rates gone up, I guess, since you guys started as well? We didn't hit you up, Bree, as far as the services. So we can conquer both those questions. what services do you offer, and have your rates changed since you started your business?
I have pretty much kept my rates the same, and it was based, I priced myself out based on some content I had seen you produce in the Savvies group. And so I chose not to do hourly rates, packages, and kind of like Annie was saying, at first, because I was new, I was like, I had no idea what I was doing. So I was like, I'll just do what you need me to do.
Yeah.
But it's worked out. Like I have, what I provide for all of my clients is pretty much just copywriting. And then for 2 of my clients, I provide copywriting, editing. I help them maintain their WordPress websites because I've been fiddling with mine for, 9 years and kind of know enough to get in trouble, but know enough to make it look good, and help them create social media graphics because my background is in art. And so understanding Photoshop and Illustrator and making graphics for your blog, updating the theme on the blog, helping them kind of graph out in their mind what they're going to create for content. So because I've been blogging for so long, I really try to help at least 2 of my clients with developing their platforms, because they want to be, Jamie, to your point, they want to be speakers and influencers, and I'm helping them try to like build the basics. Like they're starting from square one.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about when you made that transition. And I'm not sure, Jamie, if I didn't take a look at you guys' websites, but have you guys now like branded to be, this is the niche that I serve? I mean, is it like, Annie, are you like wedding professionals and that's all that you kind of put out there branding wise, or is it still kind of broad for you? What stage are you guys at in that regard?
My website is broad, but the content that I produce is niche.
Okay.
So if somebody, I don't get a ton of website traffic, I could probably run a business without a website, truly, because all of my business comes from referrals. Yeah, so my website speaks to anyone, so that anyone, excuse me, who finds it will see something that's relevant for them. And then I would consider someone outside of the niche if it was like a really perfect fit personality wise. So yeah, the website speaks to everyone, but all of the content that I put out on social media, and I do like video content, it all speaks directly to people in the wedding industry.
Awesome.
Yeah, my website, like Annie, I don't get any web traffic. I don't think. If I do, it's like Russian bots. I've been very, very fortunate to not need to market very much at all. When I have an opening, which is very rare, I really go to my current clients. And so my website's pretty broad. I built it, I don't know, 5 years ago, and I don't think I've touched it since I built it, other than to add testimonials. It does specify entrepreneurs. And I think I tried to kind of give it a high-end look because not all entrepreneurs can afford me. Because yeah, as I've niched, my rates have gone up. So it is fairly broad, but I think when you go to my testimonials page, and then when you do discovery calls, it's pretty clear who my people are, what my tribe is.
Yeah. Well, and I love that both of you guys are like, yeah, the website, not really that important, because that's another thing that I teach all the time. I'm like, please get your first client before developing a website, because it takes so much time and energy. And I think that it's just a lot of time it can be a place that people get stuck. Like if you haven't got a first client yet, then man, go to local networking events, put a coming soon page up on your website if you want to claim that domain, but then, like be interacting in Facebook groups, be like pitching potential clients, applying for positions, going to networking meetings, do all the things that is active marketing, because a website really is passive. It just kind of sits there and you kind of expect other people to do the work. Whereas all the active marketing are the things that are going to get you clients faster. So I love that you guys are like, yeah, the website, man, because it's true. Like, yes, I think you should have one. It's not that you shouldn't, but I think that it's a eventual, like once you have some clients. So
yeah, I don't even have a website for VAing or content creation. It literally is what you're saying, and what you other gals are saying is that I got that one good client and it was just all word of mouth and like, hey, here's what I did for her. You can actually go and look at it live right now, and I can do this for you too. And it was just about having a conversation. And, you know, I think in business, it really does come down to know, like, and trust, you know, because, yeah, go ahead, Jamie.
I was going to say, Brianna, I think in this business, especially, so when I started as a VA, it wasn't trendy. Like it was just kind of, you know, people didn't know what it was. And so now here I am like 7, 8 years later, and there are a million VAs. So there are a million VA websites, and you could literally spend $1 million to get to the #1 in SEO and be the first page of Google, you know, searches. And you're still not going to get a client, because it comes down to, do they like you?
Yeah.
Period. I've had clients who flat out told me, I can't afford you, but I'm going to find a way to make it work because I think you're the right person. So I think when it comes to marketing, yeah, it's important to have a website. I have it so I can send people to go look at my testimonials. That's really about it. But it comes down to creating relationships, nurturing those relationships. I treat my clients better than I treat my family.
Priority.
Priorities.
Yeah.
So I would love to just hear from you guys. Maybe each of you guys take a few minutes, just any kind of tips for those, you know, thinking, man, I think I may want to niche down by industry. What have you found that has really helped you along the way? Anything that you've discovered? If you were starting maybe, you know, from the beginning and saying, you know, like Annie, like, okay, I think I'm gonna niche down by the wedding industry. Like, what would be the tips, specific or non-specific to your industry, but someone that's like, I want to go industry specific. What are the top tips that you would have for somebody wanting to do that? And we can go Annie first.
Yeah. So find out where they're hanging out online. I think there's a perception that you have to be everywhere and do like all the things. Like you have to be on Instagram, you have to be on Facebook, you have to be on Pinterest, you have to be like doing everything, and you really don't. So find out where the people that you were trying to attract are hanging out online, and then hang out there too.
Yep.
You can also, like, speaking of networking in Facebook groups, there are a couple of like really key Facebook groups for people in the wedding industry. So instead of trying to be present in like 10 or 12 different groups, you can, like, I'm present in 3 really consistently, and the rest I just don't even pay attention to. I had something else and I lost it, so maybe come back to me.
Those are awesome though. I agree. When it comes to marketing, like, find where they're at. And a lot of times it's going to be industry specific Facebook groups. It may be meetup groups. It may be conferences. I mean, you can go to a conference for just your specific industry and start looking up what events are happening live or online for that specific industry. See is there a podcast? Could you possibly be a guest for a podcast for that niche? I mean, there's so many opportunities when you niche down, that because when it comes to just like, you know, I'm a general VA for like any kind of small business, well, that's a really broad industry. And, you know, like Jamie was saying, you don't necessarily stand out all that much because there are a lot of just general VAs. Not a bad thing. But when you do niche down, you start to become an anomaly. And it's like, oh, like there's, you know, here's this group of 100, you know, here's a group of 100 wedding photographers, but there's one VA in here, you know, and then you are the anomaly. And so, you know, kind of find online or not online where are people hanging out and just be present there. And I love what you said about don't feel like you have to be like, just do one thing really, really well. You know, I think if we could all, that's the hard thing about entrepreneurship is, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, so my mind is pew, 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 like all the time. Like, what if I did this? What if I did this? What if I was over here? And it's like, I think that the entrepreneurs that grow the quickest are the ones that kind of rein that in, and they just say, okay, I'm just going to do one thing really, really well. Let me master that. And then maybe, okay, if I feel like I've, you know, totally like gone through and this is working for me, maybe I'll go and I'll try to master another platform now or something like that. So I love great tips.
I think too, and Jamie, I would be curious to know how you got, I can't remember if you said this or not, how you got your very first client, but I think if you're somebody that just wants to get started, like I wanted to quit my part-time job because it was a drain on my time with my husband. He's a firefighter. He's not home all the time. So I wanted to be home more. And we were just ships passing in the night. I was like, I have to find a way to quit my job, but I need to build that bridge. And so I just dug into the content in your Facebook group, Abby, and I started with one client who I knew personally. Like it wasn't like I had to go and search the whole wide world, internet. And then I just, you know, kind of, I mean, I'm fortunate because there were other people that knew me in the group, that mastermind that I'm in. But if, let's say they weren't in that group with me, I would just ask my client, hey, do you know of any doctors that need this help, that are trying to do this or something similar? And for me, I can't speak for Annie or Jamie, but I don't have a lot of debt, so I don't require a lot of personal income, and we're a two-income family. And so to replace my part-time job income was less scary because I just needed a handful or maybe even 2 clients to commit to me and to commit to like a 3-month package. And, you know, if I just really knocked it out of the ballpark, I knew that I would be able to secure that for a longer period of time. And that's exactly what's happened. So it's just like starting with the basics, I guess. I don't know, Jamie, how did you get your first client?
Yeah.
Again, I used a freelancing platform, which used to be called Elance. It is now very popular. It's called Upwork. But this was a different time, less scammy, more legit jobs. And once I left the Elance platform, again, all of my clients have come from word of mouth. I haven't really looked for work in probably 2 years. I've been very fortunate. What I tell people all the time, I joke when I say I treat my clients better than my family, but sometimes I do because they are my bread and butter. They have replaced all of the incomes in my house. And so I always, rule number 1, overpromise. I'm sorry, underpromise and overdeliver. So always, you know, if I know I can get something done in 2 days, I'm telling the client 4 so that when I deliver in 2, they're thrilled. I'm also very, very honest. I hate social media. I was terrified when I decided I was no longer going to offer social media management because it's huge and all my clients wanted social media management, right? Because that's where it's at. And so I was like, what's going to happen? But I'm terrible at it because I'm terrible at the creatives. I don't want to write blogs. I don't want to design memes or quotes, you know. And so I'm honest with my clients and say, listen, I don't have a passion for it. I'm not going to do it. I'll help you find someone who will. I'll manage those people. I stay on top of all the best practices and trends. I know I can create social media strategies. I just don't want to execute it. So be honest. Under promise, over deliver all the time, and know your worth. I know it's very hard when you're starting out. I didn't know it. When I started writing proposals, I was competing with people in Philippines willing to work for $3 an hour. So I was willing to work for $3 an hour. Don't do that. Don't do it. And I see a lot of people in the VA group, they come on and they say, I'm starting out, I want ideas on rates. And I think it's great that you're kind of crowdsourcing this information. However, I always say, don't base your rates on your competitors. Don't do that. Like, my rates have gone up, not mainly because I've niched, but because I have created such a value for my clients that every time I decide I need more income, and I don't want to scale, I don't want a team, so the only thing I can do is charge more. I go to my clients about every month, every year, 18 months, and say, I'm going to raise my rates. And I either provide enough value that they say yes or I don't. I've never had a client say, no, I can't afford your rate raise. And I've gone literally from making $3 an hour to supporting my family. So
you're amazing. That's awesome.
So good. I love it. So I think that we kind of hit both things here as far as the tips for niching down, marketing, clients. Those first clients are really, it's a lot of the same tips. Like we think, oh, there has to be like something different about choosing a specific industry or going with a specific niche. There has to be some other like secret magic like marketing tool, but it's really the same tactics. It's going to those live networking events. It's being super helpful, giving above and beyond value in your proposals or in Facebook groups, like being really, really helpful. It's, making sure that you're doing active marketing. Now, where you are finding those proposals and the clients may be different. So the hangout space may be a different space. And that's where the difference is that it's more industry specific. But I love that it's, everything you guys are saying is so in line with like all that I teach, that it's really about just showing up well, putting your best foot forward. And you guys have all three obviously done that, and your businesses have grown because of it. Is there any other, I would just, before we kind of close out here, because it's already been like 40 minutes, this goes by so fast. Is there anything else that you would just kind of like to add? Any other tips of encouragement, maybe for someone who hasn't gotten their first client yet, or is maybe hitting a rut in their business? Any other, just anything else that you want to sign off with?
I'd like to say something. Even though I say be honest, I also believe in fake it till you make it. And part of that is do your research. So I know what my skill sets are. Someone recently asked me, can you help me build a chatbot? I said, I don't know anything about chatbots, but I'm really tech savvy and I learn quickly. And I know that they have these DIY platforms. I'll learn it. And she was like, great. So we came up with a deal. But if you really want a niche, do your research. Learn your niche, learn the lingo, learn what their pain points are, and then begin to solve their problems. Because if you're speaking their language, even if you haven't serviced them before, they're going to think you know what you're talking about. And once you get your foot in the door and you get that one amazing client who falls in love with you, they will absolutely spread the word. And like Brianna said, and like Annie said, once you know one in the industry, they're all hanging out together. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of finding someone to fall in love with you and share the wealth.
I love that so much. Such good advice.
And I would say too, like, I know that this seems rather obvious, but you want to choose, if you're going to preemptively premeditate on a niche, which none of us really did, but if you want to choose a niche, I would just say use common sense and choose a niche of people that are willing to pay a high enough rate for your services. Mm-hmm. I tried to reach out to lots of different brands before, deciding like, hey, I'm going to go with the medical field. And they didn't want to commit. Like, they couldn't see the value. And I was like, well, I mean, these physicians see the value. And so it's not a struggle for them to say yes. So I'm just going to go with them. And I'm just amazed every day. I'm like, wow, I get to work from home. And this happened a lot faster than I thought it could, so it's my 2 cents.
Awesome. So good. Such good advice. Annie?
Okay. So, I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is being able to say no when it doesn't feel like a good fit, because it makes room to say yes to somebody else. When I was first starting out and like so close to being in a place where I could leave my full-time job, I said yes to absolutely everything. And what happened was I did obviously bring on some really great clients during that time, but I also brought on some clients that I knew from the discovery call were not the right fit for me, but it was money in my pocket, and that was the wrong thought process, because then 3 months later I had to have an awkward conversation about it not being a good fit. And so when you come at it from a place of like not worrying about where the next dollar is coming from and just finding the right person, like now people who want to work with me take a personality test beforehand so that I know like what we're dealing with up front, and whether like we're going to jive together or not. But that was a very recent revelation from working with a business coach, and it has paid dividends.
Yeah.
Being able to say no to make room for yes is.
Yes, it's so good. I think that so much of it, like, like you were saying, Brie, it's like you like, I get to do this. Like, how amazing that, like, I get to do this. And, but whenever you are first starting this, you've got to look at like, what is the type of life that you're trying to build for yourself? And so that plays into choosing your rates. Like, like Jamie says, it goes into what type of industry do you want? It goes into saying no to people. If you absolutely hate your job, like if it makes you sick, you wake up in the morning and you hate going to your job, it may be worth it to say yes to a client that you're like, this might not be 100% the best, but it's going to pay me money. And but know that you may eventually have to have that awkward conversation with them. If you're like, no, like my job is good, I need to build the right clients, which is obviously the way I would recommend going. It's like, let's build like the right client base. Let's say yes to the right people and no to the right people. Then do that. You're doing this to create the kind of life that you want to be living, or be working with the clients you want to be working with. So if you have the commodity of time, and you're like, okay, this can build slower, you're going to build a business that you enjoy more. If you rush into it and it's like you're just saying yes to anyone, you might make money really quickly, but just know ahead of time that you probably are going to have more clients that you're going to have to fire in the long run. So it's really, again, that may be, you're like, yep, it's worth it to me because I just want to get out of my job. Like maybe that is an okay path for you, but I think you just we have to like pre-think those things. And if you don't have that, if you have the commodity of time, if you're like, my job isn't so bad, I just want to eventually be able to build this into a part-time income or full-time income, then it's okay to build slow. We see all of the overnight success stories. And I know we talk about them a lot. I get excited for them. But man, slow and steady does win the race. And if you can just slowly build this thing, and slow is, okay, last little thing. Slow is so relative too, because virtual assistants, it's like, I love it because we have such low overhead that most businesses aren't profitable within the first 5 years. And so when we think of it in that way, where it's just like, I mean, literally, you could be like 6 months and you're like, oh, I'm only making $500 a month now. It's been 6 months. And it's like, that's huge, like you have a profitable business. And I think that sometimes we miss that perspective. So, yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I chose to definitely build slow. Like I had a solid contract with one client that could have allowed me to quit my part-time job. But I was like, I just need one more client secure. And then it was all secure from there. So now I don't have to have weird conversations because I'm so mad at that. I'm like,
I hate them. I hate conversations. I have to have them. It's part of business, but I don't love them. All right, ladies, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. I know that everyone listening did as well. And for everybody here, just keep at it. Keep at it. And if you think that a niche specific or an industry specific niche might be for you, go to where they're hanging out, show lots of value, and continue with that active marketing. Thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate you taking time to come and chat with us.
Yay, bye. It was so good to meet you all.